Snobby rich women mocked the waitress for getting pregnant out of wedlock till the Mafia boss revealed he was the father, and they went completely silent. But what happens next is shocking. The fluorescent lights of Rosie's diner hummed their usual tired song as Maya wiped down the counter for the third time that hour. Her lower back ached. 5 months pregnant would do that, but she couldn't afford to slow down. Not when every shift meant another small deposit toward the baby fund she and Daniel were building together. Daniel, her sweet, hard-working husband, who'd married her knowing she was already carrying another man's child, who'd held her through the tears and the shame and promised her it didn't matter, that he'd love this baby as his own. The bell above the door chimed, and Maya's stomach dropped. 3 women glided in like they owned the world designer handbags, expensive perfume that announced their presence before they'd taken 2 steps, and that particular brand of cruelty that only came with old money and too much free time. Maya recognized the blonde in the center immediately. Vanessa Ashford. Her mother's former friend from the country club days back before everything fell apart. Well, Vanessa's voice carried across the empty diner like glass breaking. If it isn't little Maya Chun, my goodness, you've grown. Her eyes dropped deliberately to Maya's rounded belly, and her 2 companions giggled behind perfectly manicured hands. Maya straightened her spine, refusing to let them see her flinch. "Welcome to Rosie's. Can I get you ladies something?" "Just coffee," Vanessa said, sliding into a booth with the others. "Though I'm surprised you're still on your feet in your condition. When is it due? 4 months? 5? 5, Maya said quietly, reaching for the coffee pot. "And your husband Daniel, isn't it? That sweet boy from the South Side?" Vanessa's smile was poison wrapped in silk. "How noble of him to take you in after." "Well, after everything." Maya's hand trembled as she poured, but she kept her voice steady. "Daniel is a good man." "Oh, I'm sure he is. Though I have to wonder." Vanessa leaned forward conspiratorially, her voice just loud enough for her friends to hear. "Does he know the baby isn't his? Does he know about that wild phase you had?" "My daughter Jennifer told me all about it. About you and that other man." The other women gasped delightedly, leaning in like vultures sensing blood. "That's enough," Maya said, her voice shaking now with anger rather than fear. "Is it though? Because from what Jennifer heard, you were quite busy before you settled for poor Daniel. Got yourself in trouble and needed a quick solution, didn't you? And that baby," Vanessa pointed at Maya's stomach like it was evidence in a trial, "that's not your husband's child, is it? You trapped him, didn't you? Got pregnant by someone else? And I said, that's enough." The voice came from the doorway, and it changed the temperature in the room by 20 degrees. Maya had heard stories about Dante Moretti. Everyone in the city had. Whispers passed in dark corners about the man who controlled everything from the docks to the downtown clubs, whose name made grown men cross the street. The Underground King. The Wolf of Little Italy. A dozen other titles that all meant the same thing: dangerous. But she'd never seen him before. Not in person. He stood in the doorway of Rosie's diner, like he'd stepped out of a different world entirely. 6'3" of controlled power, wrapped in a black suit that probably cost more than her car. Dark hair swept back from a face that could have been carved from marble-sharp jaw, shadowed with precisely trimmed stubble. Eyes so dark they looked black in the diner's harsh light. And those eyes were fixed on Vanessa Ashford with an expression that made the woman's face drain of color. "Mr. Moretti," Vanessa breathed, half rising from her seat. I wasn't." "Sit down." She sat. Dante Moretti crossed the diner in 3 strides, his footsteps silent despite his size. 2 men had followed him in bodyguards, unmistakable in their dark suits and watchful eyes, but they stayed by the door. This was personal. He stopped beside Maya, close enough that she could smell his cologne, expensive, understated, nothing like the cheap cologne Daniel wore. Close enough that she could feel the heat radiating. "You were saying something about this woman's child," Dante said, his voice soft and infinitely more terrifying than if he'd shouted. Please continue, I'm fascinated. Vanessa's mouth opened and closed like a fish gasping for air. It was only... You were spreading vicious rumors about a pregnant woman, Dante said in public, for entertainment. His gaze swept over the three women like they were insects he was deciding whether to crush. The kind of behavior that ruins lives, that destroys families. It's not a rumor if it's true, one of Vanessa's friends said weakly, then immediately looked like she regretted speaking. Dante's head turned toward her with predatory slowness. Is that right? Then he did something that made Maya's heart stop. He placed his hand on her shoulder, possessive, protective, impossible, and said, "The child is mine." The silence that followed was absolute. Maya felt the world tilt sideways. She opened her mouth to speak, but no sound came out. Beside her, Dante Moretti, the most dangerous man in the city, a man she'd never even spoken to, stood with his hand on her shoulder, claiming her unborn baby as his own. That's impossible, Vanessa stammered. You don't even know her. I don't owe you an explanation, Dante said, and his voice could have frozen hell itself. But I'll give you one piece of information. Maya and I had a relationship 6 months ago. Brief, but memorable. And now she's carrying my child. But she's married, Vanessa's other friend whispered. She is, Dante agreed, to a man who was kind enough to offer her protection when I couldn't publicly acknowledge the situation. His hand tightened fractionally on Maya's shoulder, a temporary arrangement until circumstances changed. It was a lie. Every word of it was a lie. Maya had never met this man before in her life. The father of her baby was, but Dante was still speaking, his voice dropping to something that sounded almost conversational, but carried an undercurrent of absolute menace. Now, here's what's going to happen. You three ladies are going to leave this diner, and you're going to come with me to have a more private conversation about the consequences of spreading false information about my personal life. Because when you gossip about Maya, his fingers flexed against her shoulder, you gossip about me, and I don't appreciate that. We didn't know, Vanessa said desperately. If we'd known she was involved with you, we never would have, but you did. And ignorance isn't innocence. Dante removed his hand from Maya's shoulder and gestured toward the door. Ladies, my car is waiting. They stood on shaking legs, gathering their expensive bags with trembling hands. Vanessa looked at Maya with something between terror and confusion. Is it true? Is he really? Go, Maya heard herself say, though she felt like she was watching the scene from underwater. The three women hurried out, ushered by Dante's bodyguards, which left Maya alone in the diner with the man who'd just claimed to be her baby's father. Dante turned to face her fully, and up close he was even more devastating. Handsome in a way that didn't seem quite real, like God had been showing off when he made this particular man. But it was his eyes that held her, dark and intense, and searching her face like he was memorizing every detail. Maya started, but her voice cracked. Why would you do that? Because those women were tearing you apart for sport, Dante said simply. And I don't tolerate bullies. But you lied. You just told them you're the father of my baby. That people will believe you. This whole city will believe you. Good? Good? Maya's voice pitched higher. What about Daniel? What about my actual life? You just walked in here and claimed me like I'm some kind of possession and breathe, Dante said, and there was something almost gentle in the command. You're shaking. She was. Her whole body was trembling. Adrenaline and confusion and pregnancy hormones all crashing together in a wave that threatened to drown her. Dante pulled out his phone and made a brief call. Marco, close the diner, now. He hung up and looked at Maya. Sit down before you fall down. I can't. I have customers. You have me. And I just bought you an hour. He guided her to a booth with surprising gentleness, his hand on her elbow steady and warm. Sit. She sat mostly because her legs were giving out anyway. Dante slid into the seat across from her, and somehow even that looked dangerous, like a predator settling in for a meal. He folded his hands on the table, large hands, she noticed. with a scar across the knuckles of his right hand, and studied her with that unnerving intensity. "Tell me about Daniel," he said. "Why?" Maya shot back, finding her voice again. "So you can ruin his life too? So I can understand the situation I just inserted myself into." Maya laughed, high and slightly hysterical. "The situation you inserted yourself into? You just told 3 of the biggest gossips in the city that you got me pregnant. By tomorrow morning, every country club from here to Connecticut will know that Maya Chun is carrying Dante Moretti's baby. My mother will have a heart attack. Daniel's family will." She pressed her hands to her face. "Oh God, Daniel, is he the father?" The question was soft but direct, and it cut through Maya's panic like a knife. She lowered her hands slowly. "That's none of your business." "It became my business the moment I claimed the child as mine." Dante leaned forward slightly. "I need to know what I'm protecting you from. Is Daniel the father?" "No." The admission hurt to make. "No, he's not. But you married him anyway." "He married me anyway," Maya corrected, knowing the baby wasn't his, because he's a good man who saw someone in trouble and decided to help. "Noble," Dante said, and she couldn't tell if he was mocking or sincere. "And the real father?" Maya's throat tightened. "Gone. He didn't want anything to do with it. His loss." The simple declaration, said with such finality, made something crack in Maya's chest. She blinked rapidly, refusing to cry in front of this stranger. "Why did you do it?" she asked again. The truth this time. Dante was quiet for a long moment, his dark eyes never leaving her face. When he finally spoke, his voice was different, lower, more personal. "I walked by the window, saw those women circling you like sharks, saw the look on your face." He paused. "I know what it's like to be judged for circumstances beyond your control. To have people make assumptions about who you are based on things you can't change. You're the head of the criminal underground," Maya said flatly. "People judge you because of what you choose to do." A ghost of a smile touched his lips. "Fair enough, but the principle stands." The smile faded. "What those women were doing was cruel, and I had the power to stop it, so I did. By lying. By providing an alternative narrative that protects you." Dante's expression grew serious. "Vanessa Ashford and her friends won't spread another word about you. They're too afraid of the consequences. And now, instead of being the poor girl who got pregnant and trapped some innocent man, you're the woman who caught the attention of someone they're all terrified of. Which narrative would you prefer?" Maya stared at him, trying to understand. "But what do you get out of this? Does there have to be something?" "In my experience, yes." Another almost smile, smart woman. Dante leaned back in the booth. "Let's just say I have an interest in making sure certain people in this city don't think they can abuse their power without consequences. Those 3 women hurt you for entertainment. Now they'll think twice before doing it to someone else." It almost made sense. Almost. But there was something he wasn't saying. Something lurking beneath the surface of his explanation. "What happens now?" Maya asked quietly. "Now you go home to Daniel and explain the situation. I'll handle Vanessa and her friends. Don't worry, they won't be harmed," he added, seeing her expression. "Just educated about the importance of discretion. And everyone will think I'm your mistress or something. They'll think you're under my protection, which, as of right now, you are." Dante pulled a card from his jacket pocket and slid it across the table. "If anyone bothers you, anyone at all, you call this number. Immediately." Maya looked at the card like it might bite her. Simple, expensive cardstock with nothing but a phone number embossed in black. No name, no title. Just 11 digits that apparently connected to the most dangerous man in the city. "I can't accept this." "You already have." Dante stood, all lethal grace and controlled power. "One more thing, Maya." The sound of her name and his voice did something strange to her pulse. "Daniel sounds like a good man. But if he ever makes you feel unsafe, or if the pressure of this situation becomes too much," Dante's expression hardened into something that made her believe. "Every story she'd ever heard about him, you use that number." "Understood?" She nodded mutely. He started toward the door, his bodyguards materializing from wherever they'd been waiting, and Maya thought that would be it. The strangest 10 minutes of her life, over and done with. But Dante paused at the door and looked back at her, and there was something in his eyes she couldn't quite read. "For what it's worth," he said quietly, "whoever walked away from you and that baby is a fool." Then he was gone, leaving Maya alone in the empty diner, with a business card burning a hole in her pocket and a lie that was about to change everything. Daniel came home to find Maya sitting at their kitchen table, staring at nothing. Their apartment was small, just 2 rooms above a laundromat in a neighborhood that Daniel's mother charitably called transitional, but it was theirs, paid for by Daniel's double shifts at the warehouse and Maya's work at the diner. They'd painted the walls together, hung cheap curtains that Maya had found at a thrift store, built a life out of hope and determination and love. And now Maya was going to blow it all apart. "Hey, beautiful." Daniel's smile was tired but genuine as he dropped his keys on the counter. "Rough day?" Maya looked up at her husband, her kind, faithful husband, who deserved so much better than what she was about to tell him, and felt her heart break a little more. "We need to talk." The smile faded. Daniel crossed to the table and sat down heavily. "That's never good. Is it the baby? Are you okay?" "I'm fine. The baby's fine." Maya took a breath. But something happened today at the diner. She told him everything. Vanessa and her friends. The cruel gossip. And then, impossibly, inexplicably, Dante Moretti walking through the door and claiming her unborn child as his own. Daniel listened in silence, his expression cycling through confusion, disbelief, and something darker. When she finished, he was quiet for a long moment. "Dante Moretti," he finally said. "The Dante Moretti. The guy who supposedly controls half the illegal operations in the state. Yes, he just claimed your baby. Our baby. To protect me from those women," he said. Maya reached across the table for Daniel's hand. "Dan, I swear to you, I've never even seen him before today. I don't know why he did it, but now everyone will think you're his," Daniel said flatly, pulling his hand away. The withdrawal hurt more than Maya wanted to admit. "I know how it looks." "Do you?" Daniel stood, pacing the small kitchen. "Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you just got claimed by one of the most powerful men in the city. And everyone we know, everyone I know, is going to think you've been cheating on me with him. I know it's not true, Maya. I believe you." Daniel stopped pacing and looked at her, and there was pain in his eyes that made her want to cry. "But believing you and living with the consequences of this are 2 different things. My family, my mother, already thinks I was stupid to marry you. She's going to lose her mind when she hears about this." "I didn't ask for this," Maya said, hearing her voice crack. "I didn't ask for any of it, I know." Daniel sat back down, running his hand. "I know, baby, I'm sorry. He laughed bitterly. "I'm trying to protect you, trying to give this kid a decent life. And then someone like Dante Moretti walks in and just takes over, like he owns the world. He doesn't own me, doesn't he?" Daniel met her eyes. "He claimed your baby, Maya. He put you under his protection. That's not nothing. In his world, that means something." Maya thought about the business card in her pocket, the weight of it like a physical presence. "What do you want me to do?" "I don't know." Daniel's voice was heavy with exhaustion and defeat. "I honestly don't know." They sat in silence, the distance between them feeling wider than the small table could account for. 3 days later, Maya was walking home from her shift when a black car pulled up beside her. Not just any black car. A Mercedes that probably cost more than she'd make in 5 years, with windows tinted so dark she couldn't see inside. It rolled along beside her like a shark pacing prey, and Maya's heart started hammering. The back window rolled down and Dante Moretti looked out at her. "Get in." "Absolutely not," Maya said, not breaking stride. "It wasn't a request, and I'm not one of your employees. I don't take orders from you." The car stopped. Dante got out. and seeing him in daylight was somehow worse than the diner's fluorescent lights. He was devastatingly handsome in the late afternoon sun, his dark suit immaculate, his expression unreadable behind expensive sunglasses. 5 minutes, he said. Please. The please surprised her enough that she stopped walking. Why? Because I need to know you're all right. And because we need to discuss the situation. There is no situation. You created a fiction to protect me from gossipy socialites. Thank you. We're done. We're not even close to done. Dante removed his sunglasses and his dark eyes were intense. Get in the car, Maya, or I'll follow you for the next 6 blocks and we'll have this conversation on the street where anyone can see. She got in the car. The interior smelled like leather and money. The seats were soft enough to sink into, and there was more legroom than her entire apartment had square footage. Dante slid in beside her, closer than strictly necessary, and the driver pulled away from the curb without needing instructions. Where are we going? Maya demanded. Nowhere. Just driving. I find it easier to talk in motion. Dante studied her face. You look tired. I'm pregnant and working 50-hour weeks. Tired is my baseline. How's Daniel handling the news? The question was casual, but Maya heard the weight behind it. How do you think? His wife just got claimed by the criminal underground's most eligible bachelor. Eligible? Dante's eyebrow rose. Interesting word choice. You know what I mean. I do, and I'm sorry if my actions caused problems in your marriage. Maya laughed without humor. If? Daniel's family is losing their minds. His mother called me yesterday and spent 20 minutes screaming about how I've ruined her son's life. My own mother won't even talk to me. And I've had 3 different reporters try to contact me for comments about my relationship with you. Dante's expression hardened. Names. Give me the names of the reporters. Why? So you can intimidate them too? So I can make sure they leave you alone. He pulled out his phone. What outlets? It doesn't matter. Maya said, suddenly exhausted. None of this matters. You can't unring this bell. Everyone already thinks I'm your mistress, or your secret girlfriend, or whatever the current rumor is. And what does your husband think? The question was soft, almost gentle, and it broke something in Maya's carefully maintained composure. He thinks I'm telling the truth, but I can see it eating at him. Every time he looks at me now, there's this question in his eyes. Like he's wondering if maybe there's more to the story, and if maybe I was with you and just don't want to admit it, but you weren't. No. Maya met Dante's eyes. I told you. I'd never even seen you before you walked into that diner. Never? Dante's gaze intensified. You're sure? I think I'd remember meeting the city's most notorious criminal. Something flickered across Dante's face, too quick to identify. I'm not as notorious as all that. You're literally called the Wolf of Little Italy. That's mostly media hyperbole. He paused. I prefer to think of myself as a businessman with diverse interests. Diverse illegal interests. The law is often arbitrary. Dante shifted slightly closer. But we're getting off topic. I didn't pull you into this car to debate my career choices. I need to know if you're safe. If Daniel is treating you well, you care. Because you're under my protection now. That's not just words, Maya. It means something. If anyone threatens you, if anyone makes you feel unsafe, including your husband, I need to know. Maya studied him, this impossible man who'd crashed into her life 3 days ago and turned everything upside down. You don't even know me. Why are you really doing this? Dante was quiet for a long moment, his dark eyes searching her face. When he spoke, his voice was different, lower, more personal. Have you ever walked past something and just known you had to act? Not because you'd gain anything from it. Not because there was a logical reason. Just because something in you said this matters. This person matters. And you have to do something? Maya's throat tightened. No. I saw those women circling you like vultures. Saw you standing there, pregnant and alone, and trying so hard to keep your dignity while they tore you apart. His jaw tightened, and something in me just snapped. I couldn't walk away. I couldn't let them destroy you for their entertainment. So you destroyed my life instead? No. The word was firm. I complicated it. Temporarily. But I protected you from immediate harm. And I'll continue to protect you. I don't need protection. I need my life back. Your life was already falling apart, Dante said bluntly. Those women were going to spread those rumors whether I intervened or not. Now at least you have something to protect yourself with. My name, my reputation, your criminal reputation, which terrifies people like Vanessa Ashford more than anything else could. Dante leaned forward slightly. Think about it, Maya. Would you rather be pitied poor knocked-up girl who trapped some innocent boy you're respected out of fear? Would you rather have people whisper about you behind your back or avoid you entirely because they're afraid of who's protecting you? Maya wanted to argue, but she couldn't, because he wasn't entirely wrong. Since Dante's declaration in the diner, people had been treating her differently. The other waitresses gave her space. Customers were more polite. Even her landlord, who'd been threatening to raise the rent, had suddenly decided the current rate was fine. Fear had its privileges. This can't last forever, she said quietly. Eventually, people will realize it's not true, that you and I aren't really what? The question hung in the air between them, loaded with implications. Maya didn't want to examine. Together, she finished lamely. And who's to say we're not? Dante's gaze dropped briefly to her lips before returning to her eyes. We're in a car together, right now, having a private conversation. To anyone watching, this looks exactly like what they think it, which is a powerful man checking on the woman carrying his child. Maya's pulse jumped. But I'm not. Carrying your child, I mean, you know that, do I? Dante's voice dropped to something almost intimate. All I know is what I see. A beautiful woman, a coming baby, and a connection I can't quite explain. There is no connection. We're strangers, are we? He reached out slowly, giving her time to pull away and brushed a strand of hair from her face. His fingers were warm against her skin, because it doesn't feel like strangers. Maya's breath caught. She should pull away. Should tell him to stop. Should remember Daniel and our marriage and all the very good reasons why this was a terrible idea. But she didn't move. Dante's hand lingered near her face, not quite touching, but close enough that she could feel the heat of him. I told you I don't know why I stepped in that day. That's not entirely true. Then what's the truth? The truth is, his voice was barely above a whisper now. I saw you, and something shifted. Something I didn't expect and can't explain. And now, I can't seem to walk away. You have to. But even as Maya said it, she knew it sounded weak. Why? Because I'm married. Because this isn't real. Because you're dangerous? Dante finished. Criminal? Wrong for you in every way? Yes, you're right. He pulled his hand back, and Maya was surprised by how much she immediately missed the warmth. I am all of those things, which is exactly why you should stay as far away from me as possible. Then why are we in this car? Because knowing what I should do and doing it are two different things. Dante's expression grew serious. I'm going to give you a choice, Maya. Right here, right now. What choice? You can get out of this car at the next light. Go home to Daniel. Live your life. I'll make sure the reporters leave you alone, and eventually the gossip will die down. You'll be free of me. Maya's heart was pounding. And the other option? You stay. Not in the core. We'll drop you wherever you want. But you stay in contact. You let me help you. Because I have resources you need, and I can make your life easier in ways Daniel can't. In exchange for what? Dante's smile was slight and sad. Nothing. No strings. No expectations. Just, let me help you, Maya. Let me do this one good thing. It should have been an easy choice. Get out. Go home to her husband. Let this impossible, dangerous man fade back into the shadows where he belonged. But as Maya looked into Dante Moretti's dark eyes, she realized with terrifying clarity that nothing about this situation was simple. And the most dangerous thing wasn't his reputation or his power. It was how much she wanted to say yes. Maya chose to stay. She told herself it was practical, that Dante's offer of help, resources, protection, a buffer between her and the gossip was too valuable to refuse, that it had nothing to do with the way her pulse jumped when he looked at her, or how his presence filled the car with electric tension. She was lying to herself, and they both knew it. Over the next 3 weeks, Dante became a presence in Maya's life in ways she couldn't have predicted. He never pushed, never demanded. Somehow, he was always there when she needed him. When her landlord suddenly forgot about not raising the rent and tried to evict her, Dante made one phone call and the problem disappeared. When Daniel's warehouse cut his hours and their finances got desperate, an anonymous donation appeared in their account, enough to cover bills, but not so much that it raised questions. When reporters continued to harass her, they suddenly stopped after a single day. And 3 times a week, Dante's car appeared after her shift to drive her home. "You don't have to do this," Maya said for the 10th time, settling into the leather seat that had become familiar. "I know." Dante barely looked up from his phone, tapping out messages to people Maya could only imagine. "The walk from the diner to your apartment takes you through 2 neighborhoods where muggings increased 30% last month, so I do it anyway. How do you even know that statistic? I know everything that happens in this city." It should have sounded arrogant. Somehow, from him, it just sounded like fact. Maya studied his profile as the car pulled into traffic. She'd learned things about him in these short drives. The way he rolled his neck when he was tense. How he took his coffee black, no sugar, like he was punishing himself. The scar on his knuckles that he'd gotten at 15, defending his sister from her boyfriend. "You have a sister?" Maya had asked when he mentioned it. "Cancer took her 10 years ago." His voice had gone flat. She was the good one, the one who should have made it out. And Maya had understood then that Dante Moretti, for all his power and danger, was just a man carrying grief. "What are you thinking about?" Dante asked now, setting his phone aside. "Yub." His eyebrow rose. "Should I be concerned?" "Probably." Maya shifted in her seat, the baby moving inside her. "I'm just trying to figure you out. Why you really keep doing this? I told you told me a pretty story about seeing me in trouble and not being able to walk away. But it's been 3 weeks, Dante. At some point, Good Samaritan duty expires, does it?" He turned to face her more fully. "Maybe I'm just stubborn. Or maybe there's something you're not telling me." Dante's expression shifted, something vulnerable flickering across his features before his usual mask settled back into place. "Maybe there is." Maya's breath caught. "Tell me." "Not yet? Why not?" "Because..." He stopped, seeming to weigh his words carefully. "Because you're not ready to hear it. And I'm not ready to say it." The admission hung between them, heavy with implications. "Daniel knows about these drives," Maya said quietly. "He's not happy about them. I'd be surprised if he was. He asked me to stop accepting your help." Dante's jaw tightened fractionally. "And what did you tell him?" "That I'd think about it." Maya looked down at her hand. "But I haven't stopped. I keep getting in this car. Keep accepting your help. Keep..." She broke off. "Keep what?" "Wanting to be here," she admitted, the words barely above a whisper. "Which is wrong. I'm married. I'm pregnant. I should be going home to my husband and being grateful for what I have. But you're not." "No." Maya looked up at him, and the truth was like a weight on her chest. "Because every time I get in this car, I feel more alive than I have in months. Because when you look at me, I don't feel like a burden or a mistake. I feel..." She stopped, afraid to finish the sentence. Dante leaned closer, his dark eyes intense. "You feel what, Maya?" "Seen," she whispered. "I feel seen." The space between them crackled with tension. Dante's hand moved, reaching for her, and Maya knew she should pull away, should remember Daniel, should remember all the reasons this was impossible. But she didn't. His fingers traced her jaw, gentle despite the power she knew they held. "You're killing me," he said softly. "You know that?" "I'm not trying to." "I know, which makes it worse." His thumb brushed her cheek. "Because if you were playing games, if you were using me, I could handle that. I understand manipulation. I understand ambition. But this," his hand trembled slightly, "you're just being honest. And it's destroying every defense I have." Maya's heart was pounding so hard she thought it might burst. "Danzy, I need to tell you something." His voice was rough, urgent. "About why I really stepped in that day. About why I can't seem to leave you alone." "Okay." He took a breath, and Maya could see him gathering courage, something she wouldn't have thought possible from a man who faced down criminals without flinching. 6 months ago, I was at a fundraiser at the Riverside Gallery. Obligatory appearance for a cause I didn't care about, surrounded by people I tolerated at best. I was leaving early when I saw you. Maya's breath stopped. "What? You were there with someone, a man. The baby's father, I'm guessing. You were looking at a painting, and he was on his phone, completely ignoring you. And you turned to say something to him, and the expression on your face..." Dante's thumb traced her cheekbone again. "It was pure heartbreak. Like you just realized you were completely alone, despite standing next to someone." Maya's mind raced back. 6 months ago. The gallery fundraiser. Marcus had taken her because his boss was going to be there, and he'd wanted to look good, and she'd been so hopeful, thinking maybe it was a sign he was getting serious about them. "I remember that night," she said quietly. "He broke up with me in the parking lot after." "I know. I saw." Dante's expression was pain. "I was getting into my car when you came out crying. He drove away and left you there. And I almost," he broke off, jaw clenching, "I almost got out and offered you a ride. But I talked myself out of it, told myself it wasn't my business, that I didn't have time for complications. But you remembered me. I couldn't forget you." His hand cupped her face fully now. "Your face haunted me for weeks after. I kept thinking about that expression, about how someone could look at you and not see how extraordinary you are. And then I walked into that diner and saw those women attacking you, and it all clicked into place. This was my second chance to do what I should have done that night at the gallery." Tears stung Maya's eyes. "You don't even know me, don't I?" Dante's voice was fierce. "I know you're strong. I know you kept that job at the diner even though those women made it hell. I know you married Daniel even though you didn't love him because you were trying to do the right thing for your baby. I know you feel guilty about wanting something that isn't the life you're supposed to want. I know you, Maya. Maybe not all of you, but the important parts. This is insane." A tear spilled over. "You're a criminal. I'm married to someone else. I'm pregnant with another man's baby. This is impossible," Dante finished. "I know. Believe me, I've told myself that 1,000 times. I've tried to stay away, but every time I think I can let this go, I remember your face in that gallery. I remember how you looked in that diner, standing your ground despite the odds, and I can't do it. I can't walk away from you." Maya was crying fully now, overwhelmed by the impossibility and the intensity of what he was saying. "What do you want from me?" "Nothing. Everything." Dante's thumb brushed away her tears. "I want to know you. Really know you. I want to hear about what makes you laugh and what keeps you up at night. I want to know if the baby kicks yet and what names you've considered. I want..." His voice cracked slightly. "I want to be someone you turn to, not just someone who protects you. I have a husband. I know. Who loves me. Who's trying to build a life with me. I know that too." Dante's expression was tortured. "And if you told me right now that you love him, that you're happy, that you want me to disappear forever, I'd do it. I'd walk away and make sure you never saw me again." Maya opened her mouth to say exactly that, to tell him she loved Daniel, to end this madness before it went any further. But the words wouldn't come, because they'd be a lie, and she'd already told too many of those. "I don't love Daniel," she heard herself whisper. "Not the way I should. not the way he deserves. Dante's eyes closed briefly, like the admission caused him physical pain. Maya, but I can't leave him. He's been good to me, kind. He married me when no one else would. And this baby deserves a stable home with parents who what? Dante's eyes opened, blazing with intensity. Who pretend? Who go through the motions? You think that's what a child needs? I think it's better than having a mother who's involved with a criminal. The words were harsh, and Maya saw them land. Dante flinched, pulling his hand back. You're right. His voice was flat now, all the emotion locked down. That would be incredibly selfish. To want you, despite knowing what I am. What I do. Dante, we're at your building. He nodded toward the window, and Maya realized they'd stopped moving. She'd been so lost in the conversation she hadn't noticed. She should get out. Should go upstairs to Daniel and forget this ever happened. Should never get in this car again. But she couldn't make herself move. What if she started, then stopped? What if what? What if you weren't? A criminal, I mean. What if you were just a man? Would things be different? Dante's smile was sad and knowing. I'll never be just a man, Maya. This is who I am. What I am, and I won't insult you by pretending otherwise. Then we're impossible. Yes. We can't happen. No. This needs to stop. Probably. They looked at each other in the dim light of the car, both knowing everything they'd said was true, and neither one able to do what needed to be done. Finally, Maya reached for the door handle. Thank you for the ride. Maya. Dante's voice stopped her. Whatever you decide, even if you decide you never want to see me again, know this. You deserve to be happy. You deserve to be cherished. And if Daniel can give you that, truly give you that, then I'll walk away with no regrets. And if he can't, Dante's expression was raw and honest. Then I'll be waiting. For as long as it takes. Maya got out of the car and didn't look back. She climbed the stairs to her apartment with tears streaming down her face, knowing that everything had just... When she opened the door, Daniel was waiting at the kitchen, and from the look on his face, he knew something had shifted too. We need to talk, he said. And Maya, still feeling the ghost of Dante's touch on her face, could only nod. Daniel's words hung in the air like a death sentence. I know you've been seeing him. Really seeing him. Maya's throat constricted. Dan, it's not. Don't. He held up a hand, his eyes red-rimmed. I followed you today. Saw you in his car. Saw the way he touched your face. The way you let him. Shame burned through Maya's chest. I'm sorry, are you? Daniel's voice cracked. Because from where I'm standing, you don't look sorry. You look conflicted. Like you're trying to choose between us. There is no choice. I'm your wife, on paper. Daniel stood, pacing the small kitchen. But your heart? That's somewhere else entirely, isn't it? Maya couldn't deny it. The truth was written all over her face. I love you, Daniel said desperately. I married you knowing the baby wasn't mine. I promised to raise it as my own. Doesn't that count for anything? It counts for everything. Tears streamed down Maya's face. You're a good man, Daniel, the best man I know, but not the man you want. The silence was answer enough. Daniel sank back into his chair, defeated. I can't compete with him, with what he is, what he offers you. He offers me nothing but danger. He offers you passion, intensity, the kind of connection I've never been able to give you. Daniel looked at her with heartbreaking clarity. I see the way your eyes light up when you talk about him. You've never looked at me like that. Maya wanted to argue, but the words died in her throat. Because he was right. What do you want me to do? She whispered. Before Daniel could answer, his phone buzzed. He glanced at it, and his face went pale. Oh, God, it's my mother, she says. He looked up at Maya with terror in his eyes. She says men are at her house. Men in suits asking questions about us, about you and Dante Moretti. Maya's blood ran cold. What kind of questions? She doesn't know. But she's scared, Maya. Really scared. Daniel grabbed his keys. I have to go to her. Wait, but he was already out the door. leaving Maya alone with her racing heart and the terrible certainty that something had gone very, very wrong. She pulled out the card Dante had given her, the one she'd kept hidden in her wallet for 3 weeks. Her hands shook as she dialed. He answered on the first ring. "Maya, something's wrong. Men are at Daniel's mother's house asking about us. About you, Dan thinks. Stay where you are." Dante's voice was sharp with command. "Lock the door. Don't open it for anyone except me." "I'm sending someone now. What's happening?" "Someone's making a move against me. Using you to do it." She heard him moving, shouting orders to people she couldn't see. "I should have seen this coming. Should have known they'd—" He broke off. "Maya, listen to me very carefully. You're in danger. Real danger. Do you understand?" Her hand went instinctively to her belly. "The baby will be fine. You'll both be fine. But you need to trust me. Can you do that?" Maya thought of Daniel rushing to his mother, the life she'd tried to build, of all the reasons this was wrong. And then she thought of the way Dante had looked at her in the car, the raw honesty in his voice, the connection she couldn't deny. "Yes," she whispered. "I trust you." "Good. Marco will be there in 3 minutes. He'll bring you somewhere safe, somewhere they can't reach you." "What about Daniel?" A pause. "I'll make sure he and his mother are protected." "Dante, I won't let anything happen to you, Maya. I promise you that. No matter what it costs me." The line went dead. Maya stood frozen in her kitchen, one hand on her belly, the other clutching a phone connected to the most dangerous man in the city. And she realized with terrifying clarity that she'd just crossed a line she could never uncross. 2 minutes later, someone knocked on her door. A voice called out, "Mrs. Torres? My name is Marco. Mr. Moretti sent me." Maya opened the door to find a tall man in a dark suit, his expression professional but kind. "We need to go. Now." "Where?" "Somewhere safe. Mr. Moretti's orders." Maya grabbed her purse with shaking hands and followed him down the stairs. A black SUV waited at the curb, engine running. As Marco helped her into the back seat, Maya caught sight of another car pulling up to the building, men in suits getting out, moving with purpose toward her apartment. "Drive," Marco said sharply to the driver. "Now." The SUV peeled away from the curb just as the men reached the building entrance. Maya looked back through the rear window, watching her old life disappear, and wondered if she'd ever see Daniel again. The safe house was a penthouse apartment with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. Luxury and isolation wrapped together in steel and glass. Dante arrived 30 minutes after Maya, and she'd never seen him look so dangerous. His suit jacket was gone, his shirt sleeves rolled up, revealing forearms corded with tension. His dark eyes blazed with barely controlled fury. "Are you hurt?" His hands were on her shoulders before she could answer, turning her, checking her over with an intensity that stole her breath. "The baby's fine." Maya caught his hands. "Dante, what's happening?" "Victor Castellano." Tch! The name came out like a curse. "A rival who's been trying to move into my territory for months. He found out about you. About us. And he's decided you're the perfect leverage. But there is no us. Not really." Dante's laugh was bitter. "Tell that to every camera that's caught us together. Every witness who's seen me drive you home. To the entire city that believes you're carrying my child." His hands tightened on hers. "Perception is reality in my world, Maya, and the perception is that you matter to me. Do I?" The question escaped before she could stop it. Dante's expression shifted, fury giving way to something more vulnerable. "You know you do. Say it." Maya stepped closer, emboldened by fear and adrenaline and 3 weeks of dancing around the truth. "Tell me what I am to you. You're everything I shouldn't want and the only thing I can't stop thinking about." His voice was rough. "You're the woman who makes me want to be someone different, someone better, someone worthy of the way you look at me. Dante, I'm in love with you." The words came out fierce and desperate. "I've been in love with you since that night at the gallery 6 months ago, since before you even knew I existed. And now Victor knows it too, which means he'll use you to destroy me? Maya's heart was hammering. How? He has people watching Daniel's mother's house, watching your building. He's looking for an opening. A moment when you're vulnerable. Dante's jaw clenched. And once he has you, he'll make demands. Territory. Money. My complete surrender in exchange for your safety. Then give it to him. Maya said it without hesitation. Give him whatever he wants. It's not that simple. Men like Victor, once they taste blood, they don't stop. He'd take everything and then kill you anyway just to prove a point. Fear crystallized in Maya's chest. So what do? We end this. Tonight. Dante pulled out his phone, typing rapidly. I'm calling a meeting with the families. All of them. I'm going to offer Victor a deal he can't refuse. What kind of deal? Me, for you. Dante looked up and his expression was terrifyingly calm. I'll give him control of my territory, my businesses, everything I've built, in exchange for guaranteed protection for you and your child. No. Maya grabbed his arm. You can't do that. That's your entire life. My life doesn't matter if you're not in it. The declaration hung between them, absolute and terrifying. I won't let you sacrifice everything for me, Maya said. You don't have a choice. Dante cupped her face with both hands. This is my fault. I claimed you without thinking about the consequences. I put you in danger because I was selfish. Because I wanted you so badly, I convinced myself I could protect you from my world. But I can't. So I'm gonna do the one thing that will keep you safe. By destroying yourself? By choosing you? His thumb traced her cheekbone. Over power. Over reputation. Over everything. I choose you, Maya. Tears spilled down her face. This is insane. I know, he leaned his forehead against hers. But I've never been more certain of anything. Maya's phone buzzed. She pulled it out with shaking hands. A text from Daniel. We need to talk. In person. Tonight. It's important. She showed it to Dante, whose expression darkened. Could be a trap. Victor might have gotten to him. Or maybe Daniel just wants to talk to his wife. Maya met Dante's eyes. I have to see him. I owe him that much. Not happening. It's too dangerous. Then come with me. Protect me. Isn't that what you do? Dante studied her for a long moment, conflict playing across his features. Finally, he nodded. Together. But at the first sign of trouble, you do exactly what I say. Understood. Understood. They took Dante's car, the same Mercedes where they'd had so many conversations. But this time, the tension was different. Sharper. Loaded with the weight of everything unsaid. What happens after tonight? Maya asked quietly as they drove through dark streets. After I make the deal with Victor. After you give up everything for me. What then? Dante's hands tightened on the steering wheel. Then, I disappear. Leave the city. Start over somewhere far away where my reputation can't follow me. Alone? He glanced at her, and the longing in his eyes was almost painful. Unless you're asking to come with me. Maya's breath caught. I'm married. To a man you don't love. To a good man who deserves better than this. You're right. He does. Dante pulled over, parking in front of Daniel's mother's house. Lights blazed in every window. Which is why you're going to go in there and tell him the truth. All of it. And then you're going to let him decide what happens next. And if he wants me to stay, then I walk away and never contact you again. Dante's voice was steady, despite the pain in his eyes. Because as much as I love you, I won't be the reason you destroy a good man's life. Maya looked at the house, then back at Dante, at this impossible, dangerous man who'd turned her entire world upside down. Come with me, she said. Don't wait in the car. Come inside and face this with me. Dante's eyebrows rose. You want me to meet your husband? I want him to see us together, to see what this really is. Maya took a shaky breath. He deserves the truth. The whole truth. Even the parts that will hurt. Dante studied her face, then nodded slowly. All right. Together. They walked to the door side by side, and Maya realized this was the moment everything changed. Whatever happened in the next hour would determine the rest of her life. She knocked. Daniel opened the door, took one look at them standing together, and his face crumpled. "I already know," he said quietly. "Come in." Daniel's mother's living room felt too small for the tension it held. Maya sat on the couch, Dante standing behind her like a sentinel. Daniel paced by the fireplace while his mother watched from the doorway with barely concealed horror. "Victor Castellano's men came here," Daniel said without preamble. "They told my mother that Maya was in danger, that you," he pointed at Dante, "had put her in the crosshairs of a gang war. They offered protection, said if Maya came with them, they'd keep her safe from you." "It's a lie," Dante said flatly. "Victor wants to use her against me. Those men weren't offering protection, they were planning a kidnapping." "How do I know you're telling the truth?" Daniel's voice cracked. "How do I know you're not the real danger?" "You don't," Dante admitted. "But ask yourself this. If I wanted to hurt Maya, why would I be standing here telling you the truth? Why wouldn't I have taken her and disappeared weeks ago?" Daniel had no answer for that. Maya stood, her hand going to her belly. "Dan, I need to tell you something. About the baby's father. I don't want to hear it. You need to hear it." She took a breath. "His name was Marcus. We dated for 6 months. He was charming and successful in everything I thought I wanted. And then I got pregnant. And he disappeared. Blocked my number. Moved to another state. Left me with nothing." Daniel's expression softened slightly. "I know all this. But you don't know how it made me feel. Worthless. Used. Like I was something to be thrown away." Tears burned her eyes. "And then you came along. Kind, steady Daniel who offered me a life raft when I was drowning. And I grabbed it because I was desperate and scared, and I thought maybe I could learn to love you the way you deserved. But you couldn't," Daniel finished. "I tried. God, I tried so hard." Maya's voice broke. "But then Dante walked into that diner, and something shifted. Something I couldn't control or explain. And I'm so sorry, Dan. I'm so sorry I couldn't be the wife you deserved." Daniel was crying now, silent tears streaming down his face. "Do you love him?" Maya looked back at Dante, at his dark eyes fixed on her with an intensity that made her heart ache. "Yes." Daniel turned to Dante. "Do you love her?" "More than my own life," Dante said without hesitation. "Enough to give up everything I've built to keep her safe." Daniel laughed bitterly. "Of course you do. How can I compete with that?" He wiped his eyes roughly. "I wanted to hate you. When I saw you together in that car, I wanted to hate you so much. But I can't. Because you look at her the way I always wanted her to look at me." "Dan," Maya started. "It's okay." Daniel's smile was sad, but genuine. "It hurts like hell, but it's okay. Because you deserve to be happy, Maya. You deserve someone who makes you feel alive. And if that's him," he gestured at Dante, "then that's him." "What about the baby?" Maya whispered. "The baby deserves a father who's present, who fights for it." Daniel's voice strengthened. "And that's not me anymore, is it?" "Not when its mother is in love with someone else?" Dante stepped forward. "I'll make sure you're taken care of. Both of you. Whatever you need. I don't want your money," Daniel interrupted, "but I want your word that you'll protect them. Both of them. That you'll be the man she believes you can be." "You have it," Dante said solemnly. "I swear it." Daniel nodded, then looked at his mother still standing in the doorway. "Mom, give us a minute." She left reluctantly, and Daniel turned back to Maya. "I need you to know something. Marrying you wasn't a mistake. Even knowing how it ends, I'd do it again. Because you made me feel needed. Important. And that's worth something, even if it wasn't enough." Maya crossed to him and took his hand. "You are important. You're kind and decent, and someday you're going to find someone who loves you the way you deserve to be loved. Maybe." Daniel squeezed her hands, then let go. "But right now, I need you to go. Both of you. Before I change my mind and do something stupid like beg you to stay." Maya kissed his cheek gently. "Thank you. For everything. Take care of her," Daniel said to Dante, "or I'll find a way to make you regret it. Criminal empire or not." Dante's lips quirked. "Understood." They left Daniel standing in his mother's living room, and Maya felt something break and heal simultaneously in her chest. Outside, Dante guided her to the car. "Are you okay?" "No." "Yes." "I don't know." She looked up at him. "What happens now?" "Now I keep my promise." Dante pulled out his phone. "The meeting with Victor is in an hour. I'm going to end this by giving up everything, by choosing what matters." He cupped her face. "You matter, Maya. More than territory or power or reputation. You and that baby, you're worth more than any empire." "I won't let you do this alone," Maya said firmly. "If you're walking away from your life, I'm walking with you." "Maya, don't argue. I just left my husband for you. The least you can do is let me be there when you sacrifice everything for me." Dante stared at her, then laughed. A real laugh. Surprised. "You're terrifying, you know that?" "I learned from the best." She smiled through her tears. "Now drive. We have a meeting to get to." The warehouse where the families gathered was exactly what Maya expected. Dark, industrial, filled with dangerous men in expensive suits. But Dante walked in like he owned it, and Maya stayed at his side. Victor Castellano was younger than she'd imagined, with cold eyes and a smile that never reached them. And this must be the infamous Maya Torres. "She stays with me," Dante said firmly. "Of course." Victor's gaze slid over Maya like she was property being appraised. She's what this is all about, after all. What followed was 2 hours of negotiation that felt like watching gladiators circle each other. Dante offering territory, Victor demanding more. Dante conceding ground inch by inch, and Maya realized she was watching a man deliberately dismantle everything he'd built. Finally, Victor leaned back in his chair. "So let me make sure I understand. You're giving me the docks, the downtown territory, and the construction union. In exchange for what, exactly?" "Safe passage out of the city for myself and Maya. Guaranteed protection for her and the child. No retaliation, no pursuit, no further action against anyone associated with me. Quite the price for one woman. Worth every inch of territory," Dante said flatly. Victor studied them both, then smiled slowly. "Deal. With one condition." "Name it. You leave tonight, right now. No goodbyes, no loose ends. You walk out of this warehouse and you never come back to this city." Dante looked at Maya. She nodded. "Done," Dante said. They shook hands, a pact sealed in the language of men who dealt in power and fear. As they walked out, Maya's phone buzzed. A text from Daniel. "Be happy, both of you." She showed it to Dante, who read it and nodded slowly. "He's a better man than I gave him credit for." "He is." Maya slipped her hand into Dante's. "Now show me you can be one too." They drove through the night, leaving the city behind. Somewhere around dawn, Dante pulled over at a small church in a town whose name Maya didn't catch. "What are we doing?" she asked. "Something I should have done weeks ago." Dante got out and came around to open her door. "Maya Chon, will you marry me?" She laughed, surprised. "Right now?" "Right now. Before I lose my nerve or you come to your senses." He took her hand. "I have nothing to offer you except myself. No empire, no power, no money. Just me and a promise that I'll spend every day proving I'm worthy of the chance you're giving me." Maya looked at this impossible man who'd given up everything for her. Yes. They were married by a sleepy priest who didn't ask questions, with 2 witnesses pulled in from the diner next door. It was nothing like the wedding Maya had imagined as a girl. No white dress, no flowers, no family watching. But as Dante slipped a simple band on her finger and kissed her like she was the most precious thing in the world, Maya realized it was perfect. 6 months later, they lived in a small coastal town where no one knew their names. Dante worked construction honest work with his hands and came home every night with sawdust in his hair and peace in his eyes. Maya waitressed at a local diner, her belly huge now with the baby due any day. One evening, as they sat on their porch watching the sunset, a car pulled up. Maya tensed, old fears rising. But it was just Daniel, climbing out with a tentative smile. "I hope it's okay that I'm here," he said. "I wanted to see how you were doing, both of you." Dante stood, and for a moment the two men just looked at each other. Then Dante extended his hand. "Thank you for coming." Daniel shook it. "Thank you for keeping your promise." They talked for hours about Maya's pregnancy, about Daniel's new girlfriend, about the strange paths that had brought them all to this moment. And when Daniel finally left, Maya felt something settle in her chest. "You gave him closure," Dante said quietly, his arm around her shoulders. "We both did." Maya leaned into him. "This is really our life now, isn't it? No danger, no drama, just normal." "Disappointed?" "Not even a little bit." She turned to kiss him. "I traded a kingdom for a carpenter, and I'd do it again in a heartbeat." "Good," Dante murmured against her lips, "because you're stuck with me now." The baby kicked hard, and they both laughed. "I think someone agrees," Maya said. As the sun set on their new life, Maya realized that sometimes the most dangerous choice is also the most right one. And sometimes love is worth any price, even kingdoms.